Bitcoin is now trading at $60,000 per coin as a recording of this video. And that's crazy considering that a year ago it was trading at only $5,000 per coin. So what exactly should the price of Bitcoin be? What is its value? And therein lies the problem, because I did a quick search on the internet and on YouTube, and it shows that barely anyone is asking or answering this question. And if you don't ask this question or get an answer to it, how do you avoid getting swept up in all of the hype that's surrounding Bitcoin right now? Simple, you don't. You end up being a sucker. I've researched a ton of ways to value Bitcoin. In this video, I will break down the 3 methods that I feel are most appropriate in valuing Bitcoin. You're watching More Money, let's get it. What's up everyone? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're new, I'm Tay, a 20-year veteran of the investment game. I provide a ton of sound and well thought out financial content. To make sure that you don't miss anything, hit that subscribe button and smash that like button also to make sure that YouTube knows that this channel provides valuable content. So after an endless amount of research and analysis, I can safely say that trying to figure out how to Bitcoin was an insane challenge. Part of the problem is that there are just dozens and dozens of methods that so-called Bitcoin experts are using that just don't make any sense. So without wasting any time, let's jump into the 3 ways that I think you can reasonably value Bitcoin. Now the catch here and what you'll see is that your valuation of Bitcoin will largely depend on what you think Bitcoin is. So let's go. The first way to value Bitcoin is to value it using the equation of exchange. You're basically solving for the GDP of a country. In this case, the country is Bitcoin. The equation of exchange will tell us the value of an economy expressed in numerical form. So it can be used to tell us what the value of the network like Bitcoin is. Now before I go into this, for newbies to economics, GDP is a measure of the total transactions that have occurred in an economy over a specified period of time, generally over a year. One of the ways to calculate GDP is to sum up the number of transactions multiplied by their average price. So in other words, Bitcoin can be expressed as price times quantity, or P times Q, where P represents the average price of a basket of goods and Q represents the quantity of those goods or services. So as you can see, we're just totaling up the transactions in an economy. This would be no different than you totaling up the amount that you spend in a given month by adding up the transactions that you see in your own bank statements. Now what we're really doing here is we're just following the money and summing up the total number of times that that money exchanges hands. So really, if you think about it, we can just express our calculation of GDP in a different way, where GDP equals the number of dollars that are available in the economy multiplied by the times that those dollars are being used in transactions. Therefore, GDP can equal M times V, where M represents the monetary supply, the number of dollars in the economy, and V represents the velocity, or the number of times those dollars exchange hands via transactions. Now we can put the 2 equations that we just discussed together, from what's over here to what's over here. And then we can rearrange it to solve for the value of the monetary base, which in this case would be solving for the value of Bitcoin. So the value of Bitcoin could be calculated as simply as P times Q divided by V. So there you have it. If you know the average price of transactions, the quantity of those transactions, and how often those transactions flow through the network, you can calculate the value of Bitcoin. Now, if you don't understand that formula or anything that I just said, good, because none of it matters, and here's why. The problem inherent in Bitcoin is that it's a network that has been set up in a way that really rewards people to mine Bitcoins and hold on to them. So most Bitcoin holders are not transacting with Bitcoin, they're holding it as a store of value. The biggest example of this is a guy who is constantly made fun of for buying pizza early on with Bitcoin. He was doing the right thing. He was using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, but clearly that's not encouraged or rewarded in the system. With Fiat Cash, you are incentivized to spend it because inflation will eat away at your purchasing power. So you are rewarded to buy products or make investments. So with that said, it makes more sense to look at Bitcoin as a store of value, which is our second way of valuing Bitcoin. The largest store of value is obviously gold and silver asset classes. The combined gold and silver market represent approximately $12.4 trillion. Many financial experts that are pro on Bitcoin are saying that you should at least diversify about 5% of your store of value holdings into Bitcoin. By that logic, Bitcoin is worth approximately around 5% of what the traditional stores of value are worth. Therefore, Bitcoin's value is approximately $620 billion. It is currently trading at $1.4 trillion. Based on that logic, Bitcoin is overvalued. If you think that 5% of portfolio holdings should actually be changed to closer to 10% of portfolio holdings in Bitcoin, then Bitcoin is more likely to be fairly valued right now to you. Now, this principle at least gives us some rules to play by. If Bitcoin is trading at around 2.5% or less than the value of gold, it's likely severely undervalued and it's a good time to buy. If it's trading at 5% or more of the value of gold, it's likely overvalued and it's time to sell. The challenge that we have seen in valuing Bitcoin as a store of value is that its price movements have mostly been explained with the concept of valuing it as a network, meaning that the more engagement that there is with Bitcoin, the more its value rises. This leads to our third way of valuing Bitcoin, which is determining the value of the network. Now, before I go into how to value that Bitcoin network, if I have brought you any value from this video thus far, please smash that like button. Once again, it really helps YouTube know that this channel provides valuable content, and thus they'll share with more and more viewers. Also, congrats to anyone that took a look at US home builders with the assistance of their financial advisors after we discussed them on this channel. The previously overlooked LGI Homes shares are up about 50% since we discussed them on this channel, whereas the wildly popular technology stocks have come down considerably. So that's a small little flex. My next video will be to update my analysis of US home builders. Are they still a valuable investment? So if you don't want to miss out on that video, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications to be notified when I upload that video. Okay, let's get back into valuing Bitcoin as a network. The way to determine a network value is by using Metcalfes Law, which states that the value of the network is proportional to the square of the number of users connected to that network. Take, for example, Facebook. If there's only one user, then Facebook is pretty worthless because no one is able to see your posts. However, as the number of users grow on the platform, the more and more people are able to see and share your content, and thus the value of Facebook rises immensely. So if we value Bitcoin using Metcalfes Law, we would take the square function of the number of daily active users and multiply with the average transaction value. If we have approximately 400,000 daily active users and a conservative average transaction value of around $20,000, we can value each Bitcoin at approximately $172,000. So based on that logic, Bitcoin is seriously undervalued and can easily go to $200,000. So the value of Bitcoin largely depends on what you see it as. Personally, I see Bitcoin as a store of value and not really a medium of exchange over the long term. Therefore, my personal opinion is that Bitcoin at its current price is overvalued. But I might be wrong. It may get mass adopted as a medium of exchange, especially for international cross-border transactions. Now tell me in the comments below, is Bitcoin overvalued or undervalued, and why? Also, what methodology are you using to value Bitcoin? What makes sense to you? Also, I'm being told that this Bitcoin series has been incredibly helpful to people. The videos are short and super informative. Click right here to be taken to the pros and cons of owning Bitcoin. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later.